Hello, and welcome to the Blue Plate Special. I'm Andy Andrews. Glad you're here today. This is going to be a very unusual show, very flea. It's amazing, and when you do something live, see, when you do something that's taped, you can kind of go back over. I said it's going to be very free-flowing, but I said it's very flea, and I stopped. And normally I would say, let me do that again, but can't do it again. So we're going to be free-flowing and flea-flowing today. You guys, we have some fun stuff that we're going to, we've kind of semi-planned so that you can participate with us. Right now, that notification button is coming up from Facebook saying, would you like to be notified when we're live? And definitely please click that. Just so you will be notified when we do go live, because the Blue Plate Special is at 12:15, as you know, but we're not really sure what day we're going to do it usually. We know a couple or 3 days in advance. Like, we know we will be here tomorrow on Friday at 12:15, but and then maybe tomorrow we can tell you what days next week we'll do it, okay? But click that notification button so that it will just let you know, hey, Andy, Matt, and the gang, we're all live here in Wisdom Harbor Studios at the Wharf in Orange Beach, Alabama. Pretty day today. It wasn't yesterday, but it is today. Hey, Diane from Tennessee, and Kay Corcoran. And I now love that name. Wait, Misty Riss. Is it Mysterious or Mysterious? But you're from Albany, and I know you pronounce that Albany. I just can't. I'm so sorry. Clay, hey, Pat. Oh, you're having a baked potato? Baked potato wedges are on the plate. Savannah, hey, Savannah Lee, you're loving the Blue Plate Specials. Thank you very much. You must be still trying to get a breath. You know, Anthony Savannah or Sugarcane Jane. When we came on the air, that is their music, by the way. That music that plays us in and out is called the Noticer Theme, and that was written and produced by Sugarcane Jane. Savannah, you guys must be just like still trying to catch your breath. 43 days in a row, or 43 nights in a row, at 9:30 every night for 43 straight nights. The quarantine hibernation tour, but it was awesome, man. They would be on the air with 15,000 people watching at once. It was like getting to see your personal stadium show. 15,000 other people in the arena, but they're in their houses too. And that was great. Thank you for doing that. Hey, if you don't mind, it would really help me a bunch if you would share this right now. Just like click your share button and figure out and it'll take just a second to figure it out, because when I first started sharing Mark Lowry and Jimmy Erie and sharing the Sugarcane Jane, I'm trying to figure out, because I am like a technological idiot, and so I call Matt or SB or Keith or Brian or Austin or Adam and say, hey, come in, please tell me what I'm supposed to do here. But if you could share this to your Facebook page or to your people, that would be awesome. You can do it right now and just hang with us. David Orr, hey David. David, I will tell Austin that you got your order. And you love it. Of course you do. Thank you very much, man. I'm going to talk about this again in a little bit, just for a minute. But because I think today is like the last day to talk about Mother's Day stuff coming up to be able to get your stuff in time for it. David Orr and I go way back, by the way. David Orr, I got a letter from David recently, and David said, because David is from... grew up knowing my mom and dad, and he was like a teenager when I was a baby, and I remember in this letter, David said, I don't know if you are aware of this, but I am 18 years older than you. I was 18 when you were born, and I'm thinking, well, that would make David Orr 78. And then I told Polly, I said, David Orr is not 78 years old. David Orr is still like 19 or 20 years old, coming to the door on Halloween with green paint all over his face and fangs, and scared me to death. I mean, it's one of my first memories of my life. I mean, what was I, 2? I don't know. But I was like, I was scared to death. And 58 years later, that I still remember that. Is that bizarre? I don't know. But thank you, David. Yes, the least you could do is to get one of my kids' spoons. So, anyway. Hey, George, greetings from almost the tip of the sip. You know what we're going to do right off the bat? We started kind of messing with this yesterday. And I want to hear from you guys. I really want to hear if any of you guys live in towns with odd names. And then I want to give you a chance also, if you don't mind, to tell us some of the oddest names in your state. And if you have a way that, just 3 or 4 sentences that you can tell us how it got the name. Because some of these things are bizarre. We started talking about this yesterday, and when we got off the air, Matt and I said, so Matt, so where's that? And he's telling me, and I'm looking this up, and I'm going, what? I never even heard of this. And I looked up Alabama. Now, one of my best buddies, guy named Brian Gibbons, and Brian Michelle, we just think it's the weirdest thing. And they're very proud of it, and they should be. They should make T-shirts because they are from Slapout, Alabama. Slapout. And, I'm not sure that Brian even knows, but I know now how Slapout got its name. There was evidently a general store in the 1920s at that crossroads, and they were always slap out of stuff. We're slap out of spoons, or we're slap out of soap or something like that. So they started, there's slap out over there. But the place is still ongoing. In fact, what was it? Was it The Voice or American Idol that somebody was on from Slapout? Do you remember?
I know what you're talking about. I don't remember that.
I can't remember. Maybe some of you guys know. John Colby, hello from Port Shepstone in South Africa. Wow. Now that's very cool. Have you ever read any stuff about the Boer War? I'm sure you probably have, John. Because that's when Winston Churchill first made his name. And, he first made himself into something that people were like, oh, my gosh, this guy's very special. But the reason, I ask you that, have you ever read about the Boer War? That's like asking me, have you ever read anything about Alabama history? Yes, I have. I live here. And so I know you probably have. And so Clay Patterson, wait, what? Hot Coffee, Mississippi? Really? Hot Coffee, Mississippi. My wife is from DeKalb, Mississippi. And DeKalb is like, it's a tiny town. I mean, I'm not kidding you that even today, in the entire county, not just the town, in the entire county, there's not a single stoplight. And it's like, you drive into DeKalb, and there's a sign that says, welcome to DeKalb, Mississippi. Set your watch back 50 years. Let's see. There's a Screamer, Alabama. How about a Scratch Ankle, Alabama? A Normal, Alabama, which is probably anything but. There is a Lick Skillet, Alabama. And this is in Madison County. And the story is that Hut Malone got into a fight inside the general store at the crossroads and grabbed a skillet that was in the store and popped his opponent in the head, which ended the fight. And so people would say that Hut licked his opponent with the skillet. And so they called it Lick Skillet. There's a Fry Guy, Alabama, burnt corn. Now, we know about burnt corn. There was an Indian battle at burnt corn, or a Native American battle, I guess. You wouldn't say there was an Indian battle. Right? I mean, we can't say Indian. and there was a battle, and the people looked like Indians. But anyway, Carson and Cindy have a place in Burnt Corn. Hey, you know, one of the weirdest, obviously, everybody knows about Intercourse, Alabama. And which, wouldn't you, if you were like the city council, Matt, if you were on the city council, wouldn't you change the name? Or did they just make so much money from people stopping in and trying to mail stuff so that the post thing says that? I'm embarrassed even saying that name. But I think some of these places keep their names because of that. I think the post offices make a ton of money. But to me, other than that one, and obviously that was named that when that word meant it was like an intercourse, like a crossroads, right? But my favorite Alabama town name, Polly says, Polly's just chimed in. She says, "Careful, I'm listening," and I'm assuming that meant because of DeKalb. Should I tell stories about DeKalb now that we know Mom's on? Austin's over here. Sitting in here with us today. And so I'm wondering, should I tell stories about DeKalb?
Be careful with that one.
Yeah, be careful. The first time I ever went to DeKalb, though, I was like amazed. You know, Polly and I were dating, and I was amazed. We had walked downtown, and I mean, you can go, what is that? And it's whistling. It's whistling. What? And it's like the Andy Griffith themes like coming out of the air. But this place is smaller than Mayberry, and but I remember walking outside the drugstore, and there on an air conditioner that was like a window unit sticking in the, there was a jacket laid across there, and Polly sees it. She goes, "Oh, Mr. Bull Cole is in town." And I'm like, "What?" And she said, "Oh, that's Bull Cole's jacket, and he always, if he's in town, he leaves it there." Oh. When I met Polly's dad, by the way, I couldn't understand anything he was saying. Polly's dad was a cowboy. That's the best way I can put it. I mean, he wore a cowboy hat, jeans, and boots, and when he'd dress up, he'd wear one of those ties that has that, the two things like that. He was a cowboy. And he wore cap pistols. Not really, but he was a cowboy. He couldn't understand anything he was saying. He mumbled when he talked. Polly could understand him, but I could not understand him. I mean, to me, it sounded like, and every now and then you could hear a cuss word in there, just every now and then. I mean, wait, cuss words and dogs. You hear something about dogs and cuss, and it would be literally he'd be like, damn, well, he's got a hell of a old blue guy. His voice got down to the coons, and it terrified me because I'm obviously wanting to impress this guy, and it terrified me. And Polly would be kind of trying to translate as he talked because I'm listening to him, looking at her, but it terrified me to be alone with him. Because he probably thought I was like just like the biggest idiot in the world. Because he'd go, and I'd go, "Oh, yes, sir." Yeah, they got down. Yeah. Right. And and I don't know what I was agreeing to, but he was probably saying, "You're an idiot, aren't you?" And I was going, "Yes, sir, I am." It was horrible. There was one time though that I did hear exactly what he said. When I was traveling, I was working as a comedian. When I was traveling at one point to one place to another, and I'm in a hotel room, and I realized I'm gonna have to call this guy to ask him if I can marry his daughter. I'm not even going to be able to do this in person. I'm not going to be able. And back then, when I was unmarried and working as a comedian, I literally, there was 1 month. I remember 1 month. I was in 28 cities in 1 month, and so, no home, no family. Because when I came out from under the pier and started working, it wasn't like I went and bought a place. In fact, the week before I asked Polly to marry me, I closed on a little bitty condo so that I could have, because I'm not going to be able to ask her dad for her hand in marriage if I don't, have a place to live. And so anyway, I got, and that's its own story. That's its own story, dealing with, lone people or whatever. Because I got turned down, and it was crazy. But when I got ready to talk to Mr. Bobby, the people called him Bobby Gray, and Bobby Gray Young. And so when I got ready to talk to him, I was in a hotel room and I had note cards written out. And I was on my knees on the floor and I had note cards written out and they're on the bed. All right, so, this is the first time I ever understood anything he said, because I call it and he answers the phone. He goes, and I said, Mr. Young, this is Andy Andrews. I hope I caught you at a good time. Have you got just a minute to talk? Yeah, got it, Dory, got it. And I said, okay, so I hope you know, first card, hope you know how much I love your daughter. And I wanted to, I want to take care of her, and I want to treat her well, and I want to marry her, but I wanted to talk to you first. And I wanted to make sure that before I asked her to marry me, that I wanted to make sure that I had your permission. And he said, you got it. I understood that perfectly. It was the only time I ever understood him. But he was a good guy. He was a cowboy. And, man, he rode horses and dogs. And so what you got? What do you guys have? How did I get off on that?
You rode dogs.
No, he rode. I meant. I didn't mean he rode. Did I say that? I didn't mean he rode horses. Yeah, he rode horses and he rode dogs. No, he rode horses and he had dogs. He had a lot of dogs. Just like you remember on a Christmas Story. Remember the Bumpus hounds. Mr. Young had a lot of dogs. They were hound dogs, and a lot of dogs. And I remember him saying something about one having a good voice. Okay, so Cindy Ziegler Oates. Oh my gosh. She says that I so overmarried. Yes, I know. Now back up. Wait a minute. I see Clay Patterson there saying there's a toad suck, Arkansas. But I just want to say something about Cindy Ziegler Oates. I love your family, and you know how much I loved your dad. Cindy's dad was and is Zig Ziglar. And Cindy, have I ever told you about the time that your dad almost had me strangle my wife? Yeah, hear you say I so overmarried. Well, let me just tell you about the time that your daddy just about turned me on my wife. We were a young married couple, and we had gone a bunch of times to hear your dad. Loved your dad. And I had just started kind of turning this corner where I'm speaking, not comedy, but I'm actually speaking, and because I grew up loving your dad, and I would get, sometimes Polly and I would be at home, and I would do some of your dad's material for my wife. I would do the story about about Harry Houdini. that your dad used to tell? And I would say, and they locked him in the cell. And Harry Houdini, he worked, and he put the wire up in there, and he tried to get the thing to unlock, and he worked, and the sweat was pouring off of him, and finally defeated. Harry Houdini leaned up against the cell door, which opened. And the only place that cell door had been locked was in Houdini's mind. And I used to do this stuff for Polly. And so we're in the St. Louis airport. St. Louis, home of John O'Leary and the St. Louis Cardinals. And so we're in the St. Louis airport. We're in baggage claim. I forget why Polly and I were there, but I remember Polly going, "Oh my God," looking across, right? And I had met Zig several times, but Polly had never met him. And so she goes, "Oh my God." I turn around, and it's Zig. And about this time, he spots us. And so your dad comes wading through people, and he's doing his... "Andy Andrews, I can't believe that's you. Oh my gosh, is that the beautiful girl that you talked into marrying you?" And he's coming up, and Polly's just like, oh, and I'm like, "Hey, how are you?" Hey, "Andy Andrews, this is beautiful. What a wonderful, beautiful girl you." And first thing out of Polly's mouth, she goes, "Andy does a great impression of you." No, like, oh God. And your dad, he turned to me and he goes like this. He goes, "Really? I'd love to hear it sometime." I was like, "Oh my God." It's just like, I still get the thinking about that. But loved your dad. Loved your dad. Still love your dad. I don't think there'll ever be anybody. I don't think there'll ever be anybody else like Zig. You know, there's... in sports, records get broken and things go on. And I think that's probably true of movies and television too, but Zig, that was one of a kind. It's also odd to me, Cindy, that your dad, Zig Ziglar, and Jerry Clower both came from Yazoo City, Mississippi. I mean, how is it that two of the world's greatest talkers in history came from that place? So, anyway. Okay, so what do you got? What do you got? I got some national names. There's also, here's the last Alabama town. There is a Bacon Level. Bacon Level, Alabama. Bacon Level Baptist Church. So, I mean, there is a Bacon Level Baptist Church. There's a Dead Horse, Alaska. I don't know if you ever heard of that, but you know how you get on, you can get on, whatchamacallit, it's the, what is the app? It's the AccuWeather app, and you can get different towns so that you can look if you're going to, for some reason, in fact, Austin and I, we read this biography. Do you remember the name of that guy who went up there and lived for a year? I cannot remember the name of that.
Something,
Call of the American Wild or something. It was like a play on Call of the Wild, but Call of the American Wild. And this guy is like an accountant, and he decides he's going to go live up there for an entire year and try to tough it out. And he did, and he ended up fine. And it's an amazing story. But I started kind of just being aware of Dead Horse, Alaska. And so I kept it on my deal. And so before we started today, when I saw that Dead Horse, Alaska was one of the weird names, I looked it up. And just so you know, right now, at this very minute, it is -5 degrees in Dead Horse, Alaska. I mean, it's way up north, and it's in a tough place. So what do you got? Hey, Irene Robinson. Irene Robinson. Now, see, there's stories connected with so many of these people. My sister says anything bacon is good. Austin, you agree with that? Yeah. Austin has this T-shirt that says "Body by Bacon." But Irene Robinson. Irene Robinson lives in Louisiana, small town in Louisiana. What's the town? What's the name of the town? I can't believe I can't remember right now, but it's a small town. It's not a weird name or anything, but Irene she is the radio guru there. And you know how when you do books, they give you these. You do a tour of radio stations, and a lot of times when the book comes out, you're sitting on the phone all day long. You do one radio station, 30 minutes later, do another one, do another one, do another. And they kind of run together. But I think it was The Lost Choice. The second book, the second novel that I did. I'm doing this, and I did the thing with Irene, Oak Grove. That's what it is. It's Oak Grove, Louisiana, and Irene to me, I didn't know she was the station owner and the main person on the air, but just the DJ is interviewing me about the book. But Irene and I became fast friends that day, and that's been like 15 years ago. And we talk several times a year, but here's what happened that day that made me absolutely remember Irene. Evidently, now I haven't been there, but evidently the station in Oak Grove has a big window out front, and the DJ sits looking out onto Main Street, and so they're seeing stuff, and people are able to watch them broadcast. And so she's talking to me, Irene's talking to me, and Irene goes, she says, and so Andy, this book, I really enjoyed this part of the book. Oh my gosh, look at that. Andy, excuse me, just say, hey, you guys, everybody come here, look, coming down the street. Well, evidently, Billy Johnson got that big buck. He's been after. Look at that buck. He's got in the back of his pickup. Look, going right by. Oh my gosh! Just 1, 2, 3. 10 point. Oh, good for you, Billy. Congratulations. And then she says, "Okay, Andy, I'm sorry. I just backed you." And I thought, I like anybody who will just like stop in the middle of something to congratulate somebody on something. As I found out later, this guy had been after this one buck for years and finally got him. And there they are coming down Main Street. She just stops everything and talks about him. And I've loved Irene ever since. Jot 'em down, Texas. Christopher St. Clair. Jot 'em down, Texas. I wonder what the story is on that. What else you got? What else you got, you guys? Let me give you a few more here. Nothing in Arizona. I think that's good. So tell me about your town. Nothing. No, really. Just like, what's there? I'm telling you, the town is nothing. Okay, fine. But let's see. Sherry B says some of her favorites are Bobo, Alabama, and Smackover, Arkansas. Now, are you noticing a pattern here? I mean, right now it's like southern states so far, except for Arizona and nothing Arizona. That sounds like they named that place as like a tourist name. I mean, that doesn't sound like Bobo, Alabama. Are you kidding me? I mean, I don't know. We named it after our fourth cousin. When he was 5 years old, we all called him Bobo. We called him name. I don't know. Monkey Eyebrow, Kentucky. Are you just making that up? Are you making that up? Because there's not any monkeys there. There aren't monkeys in Kentucky, unless you consider their congressional representatives. Judson Perkins, Judson, Santa Claus, Indiana. Now, that's a good one, and that's one that I think those people they're doing that because I'll bet you anything that their post office outsells. I bet they do more revenue with that post office than any other retail outlet in Santa Claus, Indiana. So Judson, tomorrow Is tomorrow the day? Judson and Mary are having their. Judson Perkins, by the way, is Kevin Perkins' son. Kevin and Glenda Perkins' son. And Judson and Mary, tomorrow, their first baby. So it's going to be fun. Let us know, Judd. And, I was in the hospital when you were born, my friend. So now this is pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. What's Kevin got? Old man is here. Yeah. Oh, yeah, old man's right. You're fixing to be a granddaddy. You're fixing to be. Somebody asked me why we call Kevin old man. We called him old man. We started calling him old man in high school because that's when he started losing his hair. Tin Cup, Indiana. Last time I was there, the population was 18. It's barely 4 corners and 8 or 10 buildings. Coral Plow lets us know that. Hey, I got a story I want to tell you about the name of a town in Wisconsin. And I'm going to tell you this in just a minute, but Austin's here, and this is, I think this is probably the last day somebody can order and legitimately be sure they're going to get their thing for Mother's Day. Yes. So come here. Can you slide over? Do you mind? I could just pull the picture off the wall. I've got this great picture of you with the cheese head.
Yeah.
And this is, do you remember what that's from?
I was sitting in the woods and I got a little bored.
Yeah, got a little bored and got rained on. Adam and I were way on the other side of this place, and it was raining. And I mean, it was pouring. And so we said, we got to go pick up Austin. He's over there in the rain. And now, you see this thing he's holding? I wish I had the picture that I took right before that, because he was standing in the middle of the road wearing that. These are tulip tree leaves, which are very big, long stems, and he wove them into a hat. It was very fashionable.
Yeah, it looked quite nice.
It looked good. Come here, get over here.
Over.
Get closer. So, all right, is he over enough, Matt?
He's in it. The mic's a little in his face.
Yeah.
Okay, well, here, put it where? Can I put
You
it?
can probably drop it down as you point it up.
Drop it down.
Ah, hold on.
What?
My fingers caught.
Oh, you're stuck in there? Is that better?
Just tell him to wheel in more.
Just wheel in. There you
I'll
go.
lean over a little more.
Okay, so this is probably the last day that somebody, and what this is, I want to explain. This is Mama's secret weapon. And if you look at AustinLegacyKnives.com, I think we have a link up. Do we put a link up? Okay, so that it links you right to specialty items. This is on Austin Legacy Knives. He makes all kind of knives. They're all marked 1 of 1 because he hand makes them all. And so one day I was trying to make gumbo, but I had to find my special spoon that I had had for 30 years, and it was beat up, and it was horrible. And Austin couldn't help me find it, or we couldn't find it. You were helping me.
Right. Yeah.
See, there's where grammar makes a big difference. Austin couldn't help me find it. That sounded like, no, I'm sorry, I can't look.
If Mom's still watching. She'll get on to you. For
Yeah.
that one
Oh,
later.
yeah. Mom is the grammar Nazi in our house. Mom's not back there, is she?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I mean, they're all working back there because, there is, back in the back, there's like a bunch of shipping going on and books going out and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, a bunch of stuff going on.
if Mom was back there, she'd have come in.
Oh yeah, especially after the grammar mistake.
After the grammar mistake, yeah, definitely. But I was looking for this particular spoon to make the gumbo, and we couldn't find it. And Austin's like, Dad, really, kind of seriously, do you need to have that spoon? I'm like, yes, I do. I have to have that spoon. He said, Dad, we got wooden spoons. I said, no, it's this one because it's kind of slanted, it's kind of sharp, it has a curve on the end, and see, that is the secret to not burning the roux gumbo. If you ever had gumbo and it tasted a little off, somebody goes, they burned the roux. It's like like down on the Gulf Coast. That's a sin. That's like a sin. I mean, you go to hell for burning the roux down here. I mean, if you own a restaurant and burn the roux, you'll go to hell, and 10 of your friends go with you. I mean, it's a horrible thing. And then soup stock the same way, because if you're scraping the bottom of something, of a pan, you know, a regular spoon would just put a stripe on the pan, but it's going to leave stuff on the bottom to burn. What are you laughing at?
Grammar Nazi is home, she says.
Oh, yeah, grammar Nazi is at home. All right. Good. Now, she can't do anything to us right now. She ain't going to be able to do nothing to me and you. How's that?
That's good.
That's pretty
Sure
good,
love
wasn't it? So anyway, I finally found my cruddy little spoon, and then Austin disappeared for a while, and Mark Lauer's here. There's Mark. Say hey to Mr. Mark.
Oh, hey. How
I
you doing?
feel like I'm talking to my 4-year-old. Say hey to Mr. Mark.
I forget this live and all this.
Yeah, but say hey to Mr. Mark.
Hey, Mr. Mark.
So Austin reappears like 4 or 5 hours later, and he has made, now this is like beautiful. What you made that first attempt, it was great. It just wasn't beautiful.
Right.
Right. But this is beautiful. And so I said, "Man, make this a little thinner, make this a little sharper, make the edge a little bigger angle, you know." And so we have some is here sharp here, but it's slanted like this. So, you know, right or left-handed, doesn't matter, but you get the bottom, take everything off the bottom, and it has this curve here, so right in the middle of the thing. And so he calls these Mama's secret weapon. And because people always wonder, why did Mama's roux, it always turned out perfectly? Why the soups always turn out perfectly? And this is her secret weapon, but it also has a double meaning because she didn't just use it on the bottom of the pans. Where else?
On us.
Yeah, on the bottoms of her boys. So, Austin, what is this? What is this made of? What is the...
This one is cypress wood. It's very light and handy.
And it has the nice little leather thing you hang in your kitchen. And it has the markings. You know, it has the markets. You know, 1 of 1. A-OK, 1 of 1. And so today, if they order this today, this cypress one, I think there's 4 different kinds of woods on the site. But
yes,
the cypress one, the cypress one is my favorite, and it's the least expensive. And it's normally $39, but if they're ordering from the Blue Plate Special, what deal do you give them?
$10 off. All the spoons are $10 off right now. So
Okay, so
we're good to go.
come on.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day. I mean, you know, it's a cool thing because you never know what to get your mom, but to get her something that is handmade, that is not overly expensive, and, you know, she can use it, hang it, and nobody's going to go in and go, yeah, I got one of those. I mean, it's like a one-of-a-kind gift. So, anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Happy Mother's Day.
Yeah, if you guys have, I mean, we're going to close out pretty quickly, but if you have any other names of towns, tell us. And I see, we have so many stories, man. Dr. Charlie Cooper has chimed in here and he says you need to introduce the world to Simpson Hemp Hill, and I do. But I don't know that we have time today. But Simpson, I mean, we could tell a lot of Simpson stories. Simpson was an actor from Mississippi, an older guy, and hey, Liz McEwen, and Lou Ann Wright. But Simpson Hemp Hill, all right, Simpson Hemp Hill was an actor from Mississippi. And years ago, this was before I ever even lived on the beach, I had this trailer down here. And I had already lost my car. And so I had kept up with this woman from the Mississippi Film Commission because they were making these movies all the time. And so she would he would let people know when there were casting calls, and so she called one day and she said, we have a movie that's casting in Jackson, Mississippi, and I thought if you would like to come up, I'm going to put you a time in to audition for this movie. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. My car is in the shop, and it was in the shop. It was somebody else's shop because it wasn't mine anymore. But she said, we have an actor who has been in quite a few movies, and he has a second home there in Orange Beach. And if he happens to be down there, he's coming to audition for one of these roles, and you could ride with him. And so I said, okay, well, it turned out that's exactly what happened. Now, if you ever saw the movie Ode to Billy Joe, now Simpson was in probably 12 or 18, 20 movies. I don't know. But if you ever saw Ode to Billy Joe, Simpson was the preacher in that movie, okay? And Simpson had a very unusual Southern accent. And he was funny. And he would tell stories with this funny voice, and we would just say, but as the story went, Ode to Billy Joe was the very first movie Simpson Hemphill was ever in, but he was the guy from the town when the director and the casting directors came to town to figure out where they wanted to film certain things. Simpson was the guy that they asked to show them around. And so he did. And Simpson talked like this. This is exactly how he sounded, just like this. Simpson was from Greenwood, Mississippi, Paloma Plantations right outside Greenwood. And Paloma Plantation is where Mama and I live. Right, Mama? And so, Mama, pay attention, Mama. And so Simpson would talk like this. And so the director kept, like, looking at him. It's like all through the day. Finally, they're eating dinner that night, and the director finally said, Simpson, would you be in this movie? I think I have a part I would love for you. I mean, just couldn't get over that voice. Just loved that voice. So anyway, I can tell you a lot, and I will. I'll tell you a lot of Simpson Hemphill stories, because after driving all the way to Jackson, hearing this, and all the way back, we were buddies, and a friend and I would go over. My friend had a car, and we would go over on Burkhart Estates, which is off Canal Road, and we would eat dinner with Simpson, his brother Vassar, and some lady named Mana. We weren't really sure who she was, but she made the best crab casserole you ever had in your life. And so we would go over there and we'd eat. Well, their next door neighbor, I'm going to tell you one story and then we're out of here. So where we would eat, it was right next to his house out on the point of Burkhart, and there was this family next to him, the Betbees family. And Billy Betbees was the dad, okay? And so one day we go, and he says, did I tell you what happened when we went fishing yesterday? And I said, no. Austin's over here laughing. And I said, no. He said, well, Vassar, he didn't want to go. He went back to Tuscaloosa as fast as he could with his hair on fire. And Mina was here, but she didn't want to go fishing. She wasn't feeling up to it. So Mama and I went with Billy Betbees on his new boat, the Billy Goat 2. Now, we'd been on the Billy Goat 1, but this was Billy Boat 2. And the Billy Betbees boat, the Billy Goat 2, is fine. Is fine, but he hadn't used it much, and we were out there, and we were outside of land. We were outside of land, and all of a sudden I look, and there's smoke coming under the floor, and I said, Billy, this boat's on fire. And so I grabbed a life jacket, and I put it on Mama, and then I put a life jacket on me, and I got my sunglasses, and I also grabbed a pack of Oreos, because I thought if I'm going to be floating out here, I'm not going to be hungry. So this goes on. I mean, he tells stories like this all the time. And so Dr. Charlie Cooper and I connected, and maybe tomorrow would be a good time to tell you how we connected and how the Cossers and the Andrews and the Coopers ended up several years ago going back and finding Simpson, who was still alive then, and going over some of those stories. And I will do my best to keep the bad words out of the show tomorrow, because Simpson had a few of those in there too. But you guys, this has been fun. I hope you have had as good time as I've had sitting here talking about these crazy. So I hope you folks from nowhere, Colorado, from Salmon, Arizona, from Blue Ball, Delaware, Troy. There's Troy here. Troy says, I'm at Burkhardt Estates, right down that way. People from Fluffy Landing, Florida, from Ty, Georgia, from Volcano, Illinois, from Bone Gap, Illinois, from Young America, Indiana, What Cheer, Iowa, Neutral, Kansas, Hell for Certain, Kentucky, Book, Louisiana, Friendship, Maine, Accident, Maryland, Satan's Kingdom, Massachusetts.
No thanks.
How would you like to live there? Where do you live? In Satan's Kingdom. Would you like to come visit sometime? I mean, what a horrible name. White Pigeon, Michigan. Embarrassed, Minnesota. Wouldn't you like to learn how they came up with that? Money, Mississippi. And wherever Money, Mississippi is, you can bet there's not much there. I'm just saying. Licking, Missouri. Bear Dance, Montana. Yeah, Bear Dance, Montana. He'd be dancing on you. That's what he'd be dancing on. Funk, Nebraska. And Retha Coleman says, have you ever heard of Smackass Gap, Georgia? No, but I will move there this afternoon. Where are you from? Smackass Gap. Okay. Hey, thank you guys. We will be with you tomorrow again at 12:15 live. Appreciate those of you so much who tuned in, and those of you who shared it. And see you tomorrow. Austin, Matt, Grammar Nazi at home. We love you guys. Bye-bye.